hope, for everyone. Just before we get started, I'd like to welcome a new committee member, Ms. Nicola Murray. I don't know if you want to take a moment to introduce yourself to the committee.
Sure, thank you. It's nice to be joining you all. Was very happy to hear that I've been accepted onto your committee. So I'm excited about it. I've been trying to read up. There was a lot to read. And so just trying to get up to speed on what you do exactly. And I have to admit, after almost 20 years on Bowen, I found some new parts on Bowen that I didn't even know existed. So that was a nice surprise. And anyway, I'm just really happy to be with you all and hopefully to be able to contribute and help out with your goals. So happy to be here. Thanks, Lou.
Thank you, Nicola. On behalf of the committee, we wish you a warm welcome, and we're really excited to have you join. And yeah, welcome. 20 years on Bowen. I've been here for just over a year and a half. So I'm always discovering new trails and new beaches. But yes, thank you.
You can excuse much more than I do. So I thought I knew. So I'm excited to find some new ones and explore some more. So it's great.
Wonderful. Welcome again. Okay, let's get started. On agenda item 1, introduction of late items. I believe we have one, which is the work plan, which came in this afternoon. I hope everyone had a chance to look at that. Are there any other late items from committee members? No.
The only Lou, sorry to interrupt here. Has anybody it's great to have Nicola here. Just out of curiosity, has anybody stepped down or did we just expand the committee?
Terry's stepped down.
Oh, okay. Okay, great, thanks.
Or her term ran out.
Oh, okay, great, thank you.
Thank you, DG. So the recommendation is that the Parks, Trails, and Greenways Advisory Committee approve the agenda and late items for the January 19th, 2021 meeting. Can I have a motion to approve this recommendation? And someone to second? Thank you. All in favor? Wonderful. Okay, next item is the minutes from our last meeting on December 8th. They were attached to the email, I believe. So I hope everyone had a chance to look over those meeting minutes. Were there any questions or any issues with those from the committee? Nope. Okay, so the recommendation here is to approve the minutes of our last meeting held on December 8th. I have a motion to approve. And second?
Claudia.
All in favor? Great, thank you so much. I don't think we have anyone from the public here, so we'll just move on. And now we're getting to an exciting part of the meeting for the election of the chair. And I would like to see if anyone would like to put their name forward for the chair position. As you think about this, and don't jump all at once, but my schedule is changing about midway this year, so I will have to step down as chair. I'm happy to continue doing it for the next few months until then, but if there's anyone who would like to take on the reins at this time, please feel free to offer your name. Otherwise, I'm happy to continue until the summer, but then I will probably have to step down at that point. Now, I don't know how we can do this on Zoom. I think normally in person, we have a hat or something with names we pass around.
We only do that if it gets controversial.
Oh.
So it doesn't look like people are clamoring over each other.
Quick, somebody nominate Lou.
I was going to say,
Silence is dangerous. I think you can, Sue Ellen.
What did you say, Phil?
I said I would nominate Lou to if you'd continue to stand in as interim chair, at least until you can't do it anymore. You're doing a great job.
Yeah.
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 Will you be
That's
leaving the
a great
committee
idea.
altogether, or will you just be a member?
I would like to be a member. It depends on my schedule. I have to see how many meetings I'll have to miss. So I will have more information in a couple of months on that. It's just a heads up. So I'm just planning ahead so everyone's aware.
Speaks the planner.
So we have one nomination. So Steph,
Now you're gonna call the question.
okay. So I'm going to recommend that the Parks, Trails and Greenways Advisory Committee elect Lou as chair.
Second.
Can I have a second? Someone to second the motion or the recommendation?
I am.
Thank you. And all in favor? Great, thanks. A little awkward.
It's okay.
Thank you, Lou.
Thank you, thank you. And the election of the vice chair. And we have Claudia as our vice chair. And I would like, can I nominate as for Claudia to remain the vice chair?
But if there's anyone who would like a turn at that, that is good with me.
You're doing a great job, Claudia. Carry on.
I agree.
Vice chair doesn't do much, let me tell you.
You do a lot. Well, the recommendation then is for PTGAC to recommend that Claudia Schaefer is the vice chair of the committee. Can I have second? Great. All in favor? Wonderful. Thank you, Claudia.
Except Claudia opposed it. I'll put that. Claudia opposed.
At least it's not nominating and electing somebody who's not in the room, right?
Yes, that's our favorite trick.
Wonderful.
Why
Okay.
we all showed up tonight.
That's the reason. All right, so great. Now we can move on to our action items. We're doing well. So we have some action items from our last meeting, some that were carried over. I'm just gonna quickly read these out loud. I think many of these might come up later on in the meeting, so I'll just take a read. The first one is regarding Bowen heritage and the use of QR codes and trails and providing heritage information. I believe that will come in the staff update if there's anything that's been done so far on that. The second one is to provide a list of ideas discussed in writing in point form for the I think these are the communication pieces we had discussed in December around the parks and trails. Again, this is probably part of the staff update for today or for the next meeting. We have two action items for Councillor Fast around photos for the Quarry Park area and also obtaining some permission from Virginia Penny for use of the text regarding special beaches that appear on Boyne Island, in the Boyne Island phone directory as a communication piece. And I believe that will probably come either now or maybe at the update for the councillor update.
Well, I can just tell you now, I've been looking, but they weren't the ones I thought they were. So I have to keep looking for the photos. And that was regarding Quarry Park and the photos of the restoration of the park from its older status. And I'll call Virginia. No, I haven't done that yet.
Okay, so we'll put that on for the next meeting.
Yeah.
Okay, and the chair, this is an action item for chair and vice chair about emailing a draft wording for the committee around the DPA, Development Protection Area for Boyne Island Shoreline, and we have some draft language that we can touch upon in the meeting. It's in the agenda, so I'll just skip over that. And the last point is around the work plan, the 2021 work plan, which is also an item for discussion in the agenda. So those are our action items, which we'll touch upon. Thank you. Anyone have any questions on any of those items, or if we missed anything? Nope. Okay. So moving on to updates, and the first one is the staff update from Bonny. And I'm not sure Carla's here as well, so the floor is yours.
Maybe I'll just start with two items that were the action items, and then Carla can give a little update on our Quarry Park restoration project and access improvement project, the Maggie Cummings Fund 2-year project. So I just wanted to let you know that the QR codes, I've just done a little bit of digging. I haven't actually been able to talk to the heritage folks or the Bowen tourism folks about the usage of their QR codes. However, I was reading an article about QR codes, and I guess during COVID in general, there was some data that QR codes seem to be more popular. Yeah, you know, it's definitely QR codes do sort of keep a certain sector of the population at bay and unable to utilize them. So, you know, and I just actually, there was an event that's coming up, and it was a poster, and it was, you had to register by QR code. And I even myself, like that extra step, I mean, I did it, but I was very, I noticed that it was an extra step. And I think there are a lot of people that just don't have the app, they don't have their phone, or you're in an area where you don't have great coverage. And so, yeah, just something to keep in mind. I think they have their place, but I will get more numbers from Bowen Heritage and Bowen Tourism for next time if I can, if they can access those numbers.
Okay, great.
And then just as far as the communication pieces, so that was an action item. We haven't, you know, got any concrete pieces sort of in the book, so to speak, what we want to work on first and have these little highlighted beaches, parks and trails, but it is in the work plan. So it's there as an item. So I just want to let everybody know that.
Thank you, Bonnie. Sue Ellen, did you have a comment?
Oh, just about the QR codes and the numbers. I think are you referring to whether they're being used, Bonnie?
Yeah, so I'm not sure. I think John Dowler and the Bowen Heritage Group, they had the QR codes, the Heritage Trail around Mannion Bay. And yeah, I was just going to see if he could access the number of times they've been used. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, Bonnie. Are there any questions for Bonnie or Carla? No? Okay.
I do have a bit more to talk about. So I've got an update on Quarry Park. And I just want to share my screen for a minute so I can show you a couple pictures. I don't know if anyone's been down there.
Yeah, I have. The parking is great. There were a number of cars there in the last few weeks when I've gone for a walk.
Yeah, so unfortunately, because of the shape of the property there, you can see where the posts are, so where our property line is. So it did end up a little bit triangular. So hopefully people can use it well enough that about 4 more cars can fit. But, you know, if people park differently, maybe only 1 or 2. So we also installed the vault last week. So here you can see it's nice and flush with the ground. There's a big hole here, so we still just need to build the toilet building and install the toilet, and that's just about finished. I wanted to show you some other pictures taken in Quarry Park. Oh, can you guys see me and hear me?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, something crazy just happened on my screen. And I was like, whoa. Anyways, I wanted to show you some other pictures because what I wanted to ask you guys about was any ideas for, I know we kind of talked about potentially putting some kind of a sheltered area or some kind of seating in Quarry Park, like adding an additional area where people might be able to hang out, especially during COVID, if we can get it done sooner rather than later, that might be beneficial. So the pictures that I have here, so this is one of the children's play areas. I know Lou, you were asking about that.
That's the one that's called the Whale.
Yeah, so that's the Whale. This is the Whale. And then people have actually, there's a lot of really nice rock around here, like kind of river rock that was installed there, and then people have been building the Inuksuks everywhere. It's quite a cute little place to play. So that's a potential area. There is quite a bit of space over on the side here. And then here is, I thought another idea might be, this is where 4 trails kind of meet here. And I thought it would be neat to do a kind of a traffic circle. So like that, you know, everyone could walk around it, but there's like a little covered area in the middle or something, like might be kind of neat. And then over here, so this is the moss garden, and there's space over here, and there's space over here, and across from the moss garden as well. So
That, by the way, in older plans, you'll see that called the stone circle. The stones used to be more prominent than the moss.
what's, Swellen, which part is supposed to be the mini quarry?
The what?
Not that part of it was a mini quarry.
I don't know anything about a mini quarry.
Okay,
Is
maybe
so-
I just.
Is that, if you go back a couple of slides to where the circle, where you wanted to put the circle,
Mhm.
oh,
the other, yeah.
the other one,
This one.
yeah, and then, yeah, that right here. If you go up to the right, if you walk, yes, that trail,
This one?
yeah. I think that leads you to a little mini quarry area, if I'm not mistaken.
No, I think you're thinking
No.
of this
Mi-
one.
Or maybe it's that one. I'm not oriented. I'm disoriented.
This goes, yeah. I know where I took the picture, right? This one goes over to, is it Thompson Road? And
Okay. Then it would be the other one.
Lou, I think you're correct. When we were walking there, there's like as you walk up that trail on the left-hand side, there's an area that's been dug out and, you know, it's filled with water right now. So whether that's a mini quarry, I don't know, but it definitely has been dug out.
That's exactly where I'm talking about. It's usually
Okay.
very dry during the dry months, and then now it's just a flood. It's just a little pond.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, my
I-
dog loves
my
it.
kids are very attracted to that area. They'll spend their whole time just more than the other circle with the rocks. They'll stay there and, like, you know, chop the rocks up and do all kinds of things. So that is an area that's of particular interest, it seems, to the little ones. But it is
I'm
full of
hearing
water.
this activity area idea, and I don't know what you're calling the mini quarry. Are you halfway up the slope on one of the sides? Where is the mini quarry?
Yeah, so I guess it would be to the left then from where this picture is taken, and it leads you
tell
up
where I am.
to
I
that
think up
gate.
here.
You know, that beautiful gate, stained glass gate, I think it is.
Oh,
or
the private gate.
the
Yes.
private gate.
Yeah.
So it's that path leading you up to that private gate.
Oh, okay. Those things. So they're kind of the rock wall, and then there's swales that fill with water.
Yeah.
Yeah, those were those were designed when the park was sculpted to be swales that would act as groundwater recharge. So they fill up in the winter. They take some of the pressure off the erosion that used to take out the trail every winter, or, you know, chunks of it. And yeah, they're designed to be like that in the winter.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. That makes sense.
Be fun to walk around here sometime and show people around the way. Well, when I get the photos, I guess I can take people on a walk. How it used to.
There's also, like, by the private gate, there's also the little trail, a Boyne Island Municipality trail, like a continuation to a lookout point.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's
takes
some
you
of
up
us
the
on this
driveway.
committee. Some of us on the committee, Lou, have been working on that for 20 years
Yeah.
or more. Yeah. And so that's also the continuation of that is something that we've talked about lots of times. It's
Can I
interesting to hear about the park through different eyes, and I'm sorry I jumped in here, but I just couldn't tell where I was. So excuse me.
So, sorry, as far as where the like a picnic table or a bench could go, do people have the sense that, you know, it looks like apart from where Lou's kids are playing, that maybe that is an active area for lots, but the other active area looks like where people are building a nutshucks. And if kids are playing there, it might be nice to have somewhere for the parents to sit while the kids spend time. You pointed out that there's some room there.
I don't know. Oh yeah, there is a little bit of space there. I think it would be really good if I don't know, I would love to go on a walkabout. We obviously aren't really allowed to do that right now. But if everybody wanted to look around there on their own time, or maybe like go in pairs or something like that, we could organize something like that potentially. But I'm definitely open to ideas. We put a little bit of money in the budget for seating, and we don't have any plans for it. So we're open to ideas at this point.
And is that budget for seating specific to Quarry and headquarters?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would it be sufficient budget to build a sort of sizable picnic type shelter? Is that sort of within the realm of possibility, or?
It wasn't budgeted for, Ben, not at this time. It's just we really are trying to minimize the amount of staff time for upkeep of things. We have only one full-time parks operator, and Carla's three days a week, but only one day is she outside. So we have 50 kilometers of trail, and we're accumulating more as we speak. And we just need to keep good care of what we have. So in the future, I think that's a great thing to think about. But I think the benches are kind of manageable at this time. Like, we start small. I would love to see the park evolve over time. I think, even if someone fundraised for such a structure, it is the maintenance that an inspection that is just a little bit too much for us with our staff capacity right now.
I don't know if it's just me, but I feel a bit uncomfortable talking about building shelters and things on a trail. I mean, it's meant to be natural. You don't really go out to have a shelter and sit under a shelter.
I think we were thinking about it more just in terms of COVID. It's been really hard to hang out outside all the time, year round. And it just would be nice, I think, for people at this point. I do completely understand your point of view, and I get that. I think we were thinking small scale, but
But to be clear, we're talking about uncovered benches right now. Is that right?
Yeah, but I was just talking about shelters, which was
what
was making me uncomfortable. Benches I'm fine with, but
Sue Ellen here.
I'm just curious, Carla, what the thoughts were around areas for benches. I mean, when you think of what typically a bench represents, an area with a view, an outlook, maybe an area where kids play typically. Do you have any thoughts around specifically that kind of thing in that context?
I think any of those are a good reason to have seating. I think we've talked about seating and a potential shelter. Sorry, I mentioned the shelter because I think someone suggested it at an earlier meeting. So we don't have a huge budget for something like that. I think we put us about $5,000 in the budget.
Carla, we have specifically set aside money in the capital budget for picnic table and benches for minor capital, and it's specifically for picnic table and benches. Whether or not it could fit within, we do have some money, some leeway within the Maggie Cummings as well. So there's two separate pots of money.
Right. That's what I was talking about, was in the Maggie Cummings grant. I had put it in that budget. So, yeah, go ahead, Sue Ellen.
I think this is an interesting discussion, and I'm wondering if we could frame it in terms of the work that Carla showed us at the beginning, the expansion of the parking, and the installation of the pit toilet will mean that really it's turning into more of a keystone park, a year-round park that people can use as a trailhead to walk down to Fairy Fen, go the other way through headwaters, and generally use it as a more of a year-round destination, just because there's more parking and a pit toilet there. And so when we're thinking about a bench or some or a picnic table to put in here, the way it makes sense to put something in there to kind of say, look, we're improving the park, and here's how it fits with the idea of spending more time in the park. You don't have to just dart in, go for your walk, get back in your car and go home, because we're developing this, because there'll be a toilet there, for example, or you can bring your kids there because there's a toilet there. And so I like the idea of adding one more visitor feature or visitor structure there. In the past, we had looked at the park as a wildlife viewing area, and like the bench at Cape Roger Curtis, that might be a place to put a bench, or we could put a bench near the whaleback stone play area, which has turned into a play area. It's also kind of where the other trail heads off down towards Fairy Fen. And, you know, so that might be a good place for it too. I don't think we can solve it here without a map and without us walking around. But I thought if we could frame it up with the idea that we're going to create this new kind of major trailhead with a toilet for the island to use. I think a lot of people aren't really aware of all the trails that head out from that spot. So to focus on the trailhead function and to sort of whatever structure we use it to focus on what's special about this place. And that's what I see. I think the Maggie Cumming, was a vision of Maggie Cumming. And and so I just offer that as a way to think about where to put a picnic bench or a bench, is how to highlight what's special about the place, and where we want to invite, how do we want to invite people to use it. So I'll stop there, and maybe we can go on walkabouts and bring our ideas back to the next meeting.
I would agree, Sue Ellen, and I think there's, for anybody who's walked there, to think on where you have sort of naturally or instinctively paused, because those are things which would recommend a bench. And there are some areas, for me, going through that area, it tends to be an area that I pass through. But I do look at the pond. I mean, it's not like it's a big waterfowl collection point or anything, but people do like looking at water.
I really like to run through there. It's a lot more cruisy, if you know what I mean, compared to running Mount Gardner. Mount Gardner is just hard grind with lots of rough trails, and this is a really nice change to run through here, go over to headwaters, run through Quarry Park, take some of the trails that go down. There's a few mountain bike trails that go down into the Cape Roger Curtis area. And that just makes a really, really nice kind of medium-sized, moderate trail run. So I really appreciate that area. And it's really pretty beautiful because it's quite different to many of the other trail areas that we have on the island. So yeah, I think it's got some special value to it, and you always see a lot of people, walking in there, and it's all generations, so it is pretty good that way.
That's great feedback, Phil. I just wanted to mention I have seen goldeneye and mallards both this year, just within the last month in the pond, which was pretty exciting. And also in the park plan, you know, when we did the survey for municipal parks, Quarry and Headwaters were the only ones, generally speaking, that people knew as municipal parks. So, you know, everybody knows Crippen Park, and yeah, it's a very well used park, and it is really quite a gem, and that's great feedback, Phil. I've seen quite a few people jogging, running in there, and yeah. Christine, do people take horses ever up that way? Have you, I guess you've probably ridden through there, but I'm just wondering about the horse circle.
Well, I have in the past. I have not just recently, but yeah, no, that was one of our favorite rides because it was accessible for us. And I'm just thinking what you call the moss garden, which I always thought was sort of the standing stones area. We always used to stop there because we used the stones to mount, you know, to get on the horses. That sort of seemed like a good place to stop. There were more stones visible then than I could see in that photo. But yeah, no, Quarry Park was great, and Headwaters Park for riding is fantastic. Yeah.
Both the bridges were designed to carry horses, you know, so it has been used that way. Some of the barriers that are up now to block horses going down some of the trails and mountain bikes was because of erosion concerns, and because of the sensitive stepping stone area with the weeping waterfall. There's a bunch of features that we didn't want to expose to too much erosion. And at that time, there was more mountain bikes and motorbikes as well. And I would just mention other uses for the area besides wildlife viewing and things like that are skating. When it freezes, people go in there and skate on the bigger pond. Just a few.
I've done that. It was great.
Yeah, just a few, and I don't propose to do lots of talking about it or anything. Who knows if it'll ever freeze again? But the point is, the park has been designed partly because of the damage that had been done earlier to wildlife habitat. So one of the things, the trail that goes around, one of the principles in the design and the early part of the management or development of the park was that we weren't going to put any human features like benches or picnic tables or invite any people down below the main ring trail. And there are several reasons for that. One of them is because it was a quarry and because the water level was lowered later by breaching that dam. Some of the sides are very steep and clayey, and it would be dangerous for children in the view of some of us at the time. And because people want to explore the shoreline, you know, and then there would be more trampling and less places for ducks to nest and all that kind of thing. And this was a project of the province, and there were provincial eyes on it for a while. So we were quite careful to keep that wildlife habitat function of the ponds in view. So if we could just keep that wildlife habitat idea of keep the people back on the trail and then the vegetated buffer around the edge of the pond, and just use the bridges kind of as viewpoints, maybe a couple of other we had developed other pocket views, something people might want to think about, particularly from the stone circle. We had a couple where we would limb up the small alders. Everything's grown, so it's all changed so much, but maybe we could create a few views if we took out a couple of trees. Something to think about when we're thinking about benches. And but I just wouldn't want to invite people down below the trail because of the wildlife habitat component that was behind the park being developed in the first place. So I'll stop there.
I have an action item for everyone to go on a walkabout to Quarry Park and observe and report. natural pauses occur to inform where a bench may be suitable. Is that a good idea?
Yep.
Yep. And DG, did you have something to add?
Yeah, just and I don't know whether I'd mentioned this before, but years ago, Cynthia Nicholson and I developed for Quarry Park what they call a quest, where it's sort of like what is it called? You know, like for kids, where you go and you search for certain aspects of it, and then you solve a puzzle. And it might be fun at some point to make that available to families to do there, because it sort of says go to the crooked tree. I mean, I'd obviously have to ground truth it again, you know, look in this direction and you'll see this, and then you fill in, what do you see? Well, I see a big rock, I see the whale rock or whatever, and then at the end, everybody, the idea is that you solve the riddle by doing that. But it's something I actually have forgotten that we had as part of Quarry, going to Quarry Park, and it might be fun to reinitiate that.
It sounds like a fun self-guided launch activity for visit the new Quarry Park, new and improved Quarry Park trailhead kind of area.
Yeah. It was really fun. It was super successful. We took all the classes from Bix one year up there.
Bonnie?
That's great, DG. In the work plan, we'll see there's getting the committee to help with a grand opening of sorts, or a revitalization event, kickoff event, because we're going to have the new kiosks and all sorts of things, and interpretive signs and some benches, and that would be a really fun event to have that for families.
Yeah, I'd be happy to dig that out and ground truth it, because it certainly is super fun.
Thanks, DG. Yeah, that's a fascinating idea. It's great. I also love if we could have, that place where Carla, you recommended the bench, and of course we'll discuss at the next meeting after everyone's had a chance to look and take a walk about there. But I think that's such a nice central location, because I think many people get lost between where the stone circle is and the fairy fence side, kind of like navigating from there to the other side of the park. So I've heard so many people say I get so lost in there, they kind of just stick to one side. So I think that the signage will be really useful, and a little quest or adventure would really enhance that. It'd be really, really great. I just love how that trail can start at the mid-island and end up all the way at the Cape. I did that trail with a friend of mine last week, and it's a great connection of trails. So Bonnie, and one more, and then we'll move on.
One final note. I just wanted to make the committee aware that the new manager, Jillian, she is putting together Fresh Air Fitness, and Fresh Air Fitness has about 5 different stations, and it's in Quarry Park. It's kind of a pilot. It's for COVID times, and there's just different little stations there. So she's just going to launch it, see the uptake, and then maybe we'll move it into other parks. So Fresh Air Fitness, soon to be in Quarry Park. So that's another fun thing to do.
Well, that sounds interesting. Is everyone aware about what Fresh Air Fitness is?
I could ask Jillian to come to the next meeting to talk about it as well.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bonnie. All right. I think we'll move on to the next point. Otherwise, we'll be here for a long time.
Sorry about that.
No, that's great. It's wonderful. Thank you for all that, Carla.
That's okay. Thanks for your help.
Okay, so Sue Ellen, you're up next.
Okay.
Any update from Council and Islands Trust?
Okay, well, not a lot, because our last meeting was December the 8th, and there's been Christmas in between. And but I think everybody's aware that Council looked at the received the recommendation from the committee for that development variance permit application, and decided to approve the variance anyway. But thank you very much, committee, for for your helpful recommendations there. And that was before Christmas. And since then, I think we've only had one meeting after Christmas, and we're going to be going into a strategic planning with our relatively new CAO. He started in May to work with council to think about what if any new directions or new goals and objectives do we want to set for the upcoming year to assist with the budget process and all that kind of thing. So I think we'll have a half-day retreat in February, and that'll be for everything, not just parks, trails, greenways, and that kind of thing. And so that's really all I can report over the month, unless people have other questions regarding the Islands Trust. Oh, I can report a little bit on Mount Gardner. I think Islands Trust is standing by to help with that project about prohibiting motorized vehicles if Bowen Council asks for more help. And you know, I didn't want to put something new on the agenda here. I just want to let you know there's a whole bunch of projects kind of in the works. And one thing I did want to mention is that where did it go? Islands Trust is it's reworking its policy statement. So this is like the OCP for the whole Islands Trust area, which, as you know, runs from the border with the United States all the way halfway up Vancouver Island, and includes Bowen and all the Southern Gulf Islands up to Denman and Hornby and Lasqueti, and about 450 islands. And so we're asking for input on the future of the Islands Trust area. So we're updating the policy statement, which is like a regional growth strategy and guides all the OCPs in the area. So input by February 7th, and I'll send everybody a link if you'd like. But, you know, I've got tons of things I could talk about, but I'll just stop there. Thank you.
Thank you, Sue Ellen. Any feedback or questions for Sue Ellen at this time? No? Okay. Thank you again. So we'll move on to Phil. Any updates from the Boyne Island Trail Society? I know you guys had a annual general meeting, I believe.
I was
towards
just a members
the end of
meeting.
Christmas.
Yeah, we haven't had a board meeting since November. And I think I reported on that one last time, but we did have an all members meeting, not an AGM, but an all members meeting at the end of December, 17th of December. Our board meetings are now moved on to the 4th week of the month, so I think it's next week that we have it. But the members meeting was quite good. We had a good turnout. We had 2 presentations, kind of key presentations, one by Travis Hagerstone on low impact trail maintenance methods that he's been working on adopting and implementing on sections of some of the trails around Mount Gardner, specifically Hand Loggers Trail, where we've been working on some drainage improvements over the winter. It's good to do it in the winter because you got lots of runoff working, so you can see where the drainage needs to be improved. So we've been plugging away at that in small groups of 1 or 2 or 3, just because of COVID and not really trying to recruit big volunteer groups. So it's going slowly and gradually, but we are making some, I think, pretty effective improvements. Travis has also been busy with clearing windfall on some of those trails as well, having the chainsaw out. We've been identifying some areas that need some upgrades in blazing and connection points and things like that. And so 2021's work plan has come out, and again, the focus is going to be getting that navigation and signage up, continuing the hand loggers improvements, and getting some trail maps, new trail maps designed for the kiosks. Other than that, yeah, that's really about it right now. Just trying to get the pieces in place so we can actually implement the signage once they come back from the laser cutting order. So it's happening, but it's kind of, you know, slow as always.
And COVID, yes.
COVID, yeah. Right now they're dealing with computer issues, the file compatibility between our files and what they need for the laser cutter. It's all, you know, computer stuff that people are hassling with right now. But it's coming, so it's going to be exciting over the next few months, I think.
Thanks. You guys have been really busy. It sounds like, despite the signs, but I think there's been a lot of work happening on the trails in the last few months. So great work.
Small group activities with just, you know, people that go out and do a little bit of work every night, you know, for a couple of hours at a time. And it seems to be working.
Yeah. Thank you, Phil. Any questions for Phil? Nope. Okay. And the next update here on the agenda is actually for me. It's on the Cates Hill Playground proposal, which I don't know if everyone had a chance to see the attachment on the agenda. I believe the presentation was also attached in the PDF. I and two other mothers here on Bowen presented to the council, I believe it was just last week, at their regular council meeting last Monday, a proposal to have another playground here on the island. And we had presented Cates Hill, which I'm sure everyone's familiar with, over at the Cates Hill neighborhood. And that is up for discussion with the Environment and Parks team, the staff in the Bonny's team. And council was unanimously in favor of the idea and moving forward the discussions with the staff to see if that is the best location for a playground. We presented about, well, two quotes, but varying from low, mid, and high range. Low being more like $55,000, high in the $150,000 range that we received from two companies, two local-based companies, Kinsel and Habitat Systems. Habitat Systems is the company that's built the playground at Bix and has been also contracted to build a new playground at Bix by the kindergarten classrooms. So they've got some experience working with them. And so the next steps now are just to meet with staff to indeed determine if Cates Hill would be the best park, and just to think about the next steps in firming up our collaborative projects policy application, thinking about insurance and other things like that. So I'll be updating the committee from time to time. If anyone's interested in hearing more, I'm happy to provide more details offline. Any questions at this time on that? Yes, Ben?
I just want to know how this committee could support that process, because I think it's something that this island is sorely in need of, and we're a committee based on supporting parks, so I think that it's something that we should get behind. So let me know what I can do and what we can do as a committee to help it become a reality.
Thank you for that. I think in our discussions with staff, we'll definitely explore how the committee could be utilized. And I think I saw Sue Ellen's hand.
Oh, you just said what I was going to say.
DG?
Yeah, well, I generally am in favor of this. I think it's a great idea. Good location. My only question was, and maybe this is something staff can let us know, is that it mentions that there's ample parking, but my understanding is that upper area is not meant to be a parking lot. So from what I understand, there's actually, unless we change the plan for the park, there's not ample parking there. I mean, it's sort of temporary ample parking. But my understanding was when that park was established, it was meant to be a walk to park, or, meant for generally low, neighborhoods to folks to walk to it. So that would be my only comment on that, because I know there is great parking there now, but I thought that was supposed to be turned into more green space, not parking lot, the area that's.
I think,
currently
Gigi,
for
this will
parking.
be something in the discussion with staff. Like we'll be looking at, constraints at the site. And yes, Carla organized a great planting event. So some of the area just above the field between Tiernanog and the field has been turned into sort of a half edible little garden, pollinators and for people's enjoyment. So half of that. So there is a little parking area there, but that's it. And then of course, Tiernanog is above that. Yeah. So
But
I think
raises
this
a
will be
good
the
point.
part of the discussion informs.
Right, yeah, to figure that out, yeah.
I think DG raises a good point about the parking, but the connectivity to trails. Are there trails and pathways that people can use from the neighborhood to get to the park without having to go, say, on the roads, or are there other ways to access the park other than car?
Again, really good points and something that we'll be looking at for appropriate sites, and that is a good point, Phil. We'll look at that. As far as I know, there's not. I mean, there's the shoulders, but there's not really connectivity there. I just put it out there, and again, we're going to be meeting with Lou and the other mothers' parents next week, and we're really looking forward to that. At the staff level, and that was one consideration with the West Side Playscape when we did develop that, was that it was on the bus route. There was some trail connectivity, so to speak, where people could bus there or park there and then go through trails. Yeah, I mean, it was on the other side of the island, but Kate's Hill, yeah, there is the trail network from Village Square up Rue Croft Lane up through Rivendell and that way. So there is that trail connectivity, and then there's the shoulder, and then the trails that do go down Kate's Hill to access, into the cove. So there is some trail connectivity up there.
Thanks, Bonnie.
Thanks, Bonnie. Yeah, and also we were thinking about the schools just sort of in the cove. So Bix and the Island Pacific School, and also the Montessori School, Boyne Children's Center. They all could access the park through trails as well. So through, I guess, the trails that Bonnie just mentioned. So it's close to all the schools, and also the preschool sort of infrastructure that's near the cove. So it's centralized in that way. We also did a poll with the community, and we listed, I think, 4 or 5 different parks, and the close second was the West Side Park. As an option, not really close, I would say, but the second choice after Kate's Hill for the community was the Arbutus Park. But again, these are things we're going to discuss with staff and see what would be the most suitable. The West, those who aren't familiar with Arbutus Park, there is already a bit of nature-based infrastructure that's there that could be enhanced and added to. So that's a possible benefit for maybe even thinking about that location. So yeah, we'll figure out those details in our meeting with staff, and again, I'll be happy to report back. And thank you for your support, and we'll let you know how the Parks Committee can help out. Okay, moving on to the next agenda item. Unless there's any other questions, Michael? Nope. Okay. So business arising from the minutes. The first point here is on the writing campaign. I have DG Blair to report on this.
Yeah, well, Steph called and said, will you be will you be the point person? And I was like, okay. But I think basically all we've agreed that it would be good to have some sort of coordination of some regular communication to the community. So I guess maybe what would be useful is to, since we've all agreed in principle, is to maybe figure out what months, if we want to do it every month, decide on whether we want to have it monthly, and then maybe get a roster of some people who might like to write short pieces. And so I'm hoping that there's other people who would be willing to write some short pieces. And I just note that Phil just turned his microphone off when I was. So, you know, and the intent here, Nicola, is to just really do a better job about communicating about what the committee does, and then highlight, you know, our parks, trails, and greenways on Bowen. And so it doesn't have to, it could be about a park that we maybe don't know about, but I think also stressing the greenway aspect, you know, of our work would be also important. So are there any people who would be willing to write? And I'm thinking like maximum 400 words, but really probably aim around 300 word article that could be shared. I don't know whether, and I can find this out, I guess, as an action item. I talked to Sophie about, you know, how it can be shared, you know, so that would be something as well. So I'll just sort of open it up for discussion. I'm hoping there's, I mean, I certainly would be willing to write at least one article or two over the course of the year. It looks like Claudia and Jeremy and Ben and Nicola and Christine.
Everybody, this is
all right, way to go. And Phil, yay. Good.
Seriously, who did I get? Jeremy, I'm taking names here. Jeremy, did Phil say yes too?
Yeah.
Everybody
did.
Yeah.
Okay, so just
everybody.
Everybody. Okay, right on.
Can I be so bold as to say that could be an action item to have your piece, a draft for next meeting?
Well, maybe what we could have as an action item is have people identify what they want to write about.
Okay.
You know, just sort of like maybe a title and have an idea about what they would want to write about.
Okay.
We would need to do that, or else we might all end up writing about the same.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask too about, sorry, Bonnie, go ahead.
No, you go ahead, Jeremy. Mine's more process.
I just wanted to ask about the latitude of this. If it's confined to municipal parks and greenways, or the broader context of the island and say trails and so on, because the more inclusive it is, so often, while it might not be specifically a municipal trail, there's options for future things, and to get people thinking broadly about the island in general as for walking, and to incorporate that into their broader thinking for the future, so that there's kind of an ethos developed, if it isn't already there, and maybe guide that to the extent that we might be able to enlighten that perspective. Or how wide should this be?
I think that's a great topic, Jeremy, just what you said about, you know, enhancing trail connectivity on Bowen Island now and into the future. That would be a great topic that you could write, and, you know, we can, as staff, we could look at it. Our communications coordinator, you know, we want to keep kind of within our terms of reference for this committee, but that definitely is within the terms of reference, and get that people thinking about that, you know, that, yeah, like, you know, through subdivisions, this is how we acquire trail connectivity, or trail connector trails. But, you know, into the future, maybe people that maybe have sections, you know, we can maybe look at alternate ways to acquire these connections through easements and such. But just looking from now into the future and ensuring that Bowen Island maintains its connectivity and enhances it. I think that would be an awesome topic for a piece.
Thought development of that is so critical to the future, and that has to necessarily go beyond the purview of Muni specific trails.
I see Claudia and then
Claudia.
Phil. Yeah.
I think Phil's had his hand up for a while.
Yeah, and Phil after Claudia. Yeah.
And DG, then it's Lou.
Yeah.
No, sorry. Also, that would be great if whoever writes that, if it's you, Jeremy, but also Jeremy, I would love to see something perhaps, unless it's controversial, but you have encouraged us in previous years to think about special areas of crown land on Bowen and potentially bringing them out of the province's oversight and into the municipality's domain. So that could be something like, encouraging and inspiring people to look around them when they're in the crown lands, and are there, special or significant features, and that we might want to take a look at as a committee of areas that we might want to fight for, to, just a thought. But now I'll go back to eating my sandwich that my daughter brought me, and so that's why I'm going off video.
Phil?
Yeah, so just thinking about what I would do, I think I would like to write something on the beaches of Bowen, and coming from my background as a coastal geomorphologist, I could write about trails and trail running and all that stuff, but I think I really enjoyed the time we spent as a committee a few years ago when we were doing walkabouts on several of the beaches that I hadn't visited before, the public, municipal beaches around, especially on the east side, which I didn't know anything about. And so I'd see maybe picking a beach or two here and there on, representing the different parts of Bowen, and doing a little piece on that if people have ideas about how we could do that, and maybe dredge up some of the notes that we put. I think we put together some pretty good notes on those beaches a few years ago, and that might be a good resource to kind of start with, get some ideas from. So that's what I'd like to do. If people are interested.
It's already done as action item.
What's that?
You've already done your action now. Your homework's done.
Phil, are you thinking about highlighting these lovely treasures, or thinking about the access to the beaches as well?
A little bit of highlight of what the beach is like, and what it offers from a either a recreational perspective for people using the beach, or just from a natural perspective of what's there, and what's important about it, and why it's an important asset or amenity from our perspective.
So like beach profiles.
Yeah, something like
beach
that.
profiles. Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Is there anyone
Should
else?
we have photos?
Yeah, a little photo. A
Photos
few
too.
photos would be nice to help with
Yeah.
that.
And Bonnie, yeah.
The photo, I know that Sophie loves photos, and so so it would be, definitely the creation of the article would have to generate from members of the committee, and then Sophie would do her editing, and then we, you could send it to me, and then I would give it to Soph. I would have a look as well, and then Sophie. And then what we do is we've got our communication network, which is our social media sites, and then also our website, and then we have a mail out. So we've got like a communication dissemination network. So, but then concurrent with that, we would probably want to get it into the undercurrent as well. So yeah, well, that's something that maybe staff could do, that part of it.
Okay. I've seen Nicola's and Carla's hands up at the same time. I'm not sure who's first. Sorry. Maybe
Let's let
Nicola
Nicola go first.
and then Carla.
she's new and she's a volunteer.
Yeah,
I know. I just wanted to follow up on something Bonnie said. That's all.
Oh,
was
okay.
just
Is that okay, Nicola? And then it'll be you. Sure. Okay. Go ahead.
Sorry.
Carla.
I was just going to say, because Bonnie was talking about how we have social media and we have the website and everything, that it would be great when you do write your article to write like just like a 2-sentence summary or introduction or whatever, and then link to your article, because people won't read it on social media unless it's really, really short. So that's all.
Okay. Thanks, Carla. Nicola?
I just wanted to clarify that we're just coming up with a topic for the next meeting, or do you want us to write the piece, or is that something you want to put out like maybe once a month, put out a different piece? Is that the idea, or did you want them all at once?
Yeah, Nicola, good question. So I think if we have all the topics next meeting, then I could sit down with our communications coordinator and we could get a cycle. We could see what she thinks is best for disseminating them. Ideally, if there were 12, we could have, well, now we're into February. So yeah, we'll be into February or next meeting or whenever our next meeting is going to be. So if we had 10, we'd have the rest of the year covered. So that would be really great. But if we had, yeah, we would just have to see according to how many submissions there's going to be. So, yeah.
Well, I'm thinking old growth forest on Bowen. That's just what came to my mind. So that.
Oh, we got another one done. You down.
Thanks, Nicola. DG?
Yeah, just to suggest to folks for next meeting to bring, at least one, but maybe 2 topics. So don't just limit yourself to one topic, right? If we're going to aim for 10, some people will have to write more than one. So, and we can maybe select the topics, the 10, 10 top topics or something. So 1 to 2.
Hey, I think we have our action item for all of us for the next meeting. Some have already completed their action. So we come with 1 or 2 topics that we'd be interested in writing about, and then we'll see how to distribute them throughout the year and come up with a schedule for that. Great. Any more topics that are already on top of people's minds right now?
I'm thinking
Yes,
of trails that I've ridden with horses, but I'm just trying to how many were municipal and how many were not. I don't know how important that is. Crown land. But that's what I would be thinking of. Yeah.
Sorry, I have in my notes that did I capture that we are doing both municipal and crown land?
I think the idea was the island-wide network of trails and the connectivity of trails and the future considerations of expanding the network of trails and making sure we don't lose them.
So anyway.
Sorry, Claudia here. I think we want to make sure that we're not just talking about trails though, but also greenways and
beaches,
natural areas in general, because trails is very human oriented and we want to represent all aspects.
I don't think you can isolate our mandated purview from the island as a whole. Otherwise, you are just limiting yourself far too much. And people are much more concerned about the island as a whole than just the municipally controlled things. And this has been an issue for this committee for some time. I remember when we had to discuss the issue of being proactive and how important that was, because we're looking to the future. And if you don't take the island as a whole, you just miss the boat together.
Yeah, good point, Jeremy. Phil, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I just had one more suggestion. I brought this up in our last board meeting in November for Bowen Island Trail Society. And there were a lot of oohs and ahs about the idea and about helping PTGAC with this communication plan. So it's quite possible that some of the members of BITS and possibly board members would also be interested in contributing small articles like that to deal with some of the stuff. So I can ask at our next meeting at the end next week and see if there's volunteers there as well, because that'll help ease some of the burden.
Sue Ellen and then Bonnie.
I'll probably do something about wildlife and wildlife watching, but it'll probably need to be something that's timely, like around what you can see now and where to go to see wildlife, that kind of thing. And I know there's people on the committee that are into plants and ecology and wildflowers, and so we'll see what people come up with as we when we come next meeting.
Thanks, Bonnie. Sorry, thanks, Sue Ellen. Bonnie.
Yeah, and I just wanted to talk, because I mean, Crown lands are in our terms of reference. I mean, they're listed explicitly in one of our terms of reference items, but we can advise on Crown land issues. So I think to include them is not outside of our terms of reference. So, and that's going to your point, Jeremy, that we have to look at our island as a whole. So yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry, yeah, 2.2B, including Crown lands. Okay.
Bonnie, a question on that. How about beaches that are not, I guess, BIM beaches? Not official, like I'm thinking about Sealy, like Sealy Beach. I know there's a long history to that beach, and I was actually thinking it'd be nice to write a piece on that, but I don't know what the parameters are.
Yeah, I mean, it would be nice. However, the access to that beach is very, very limited. So I wouldn't want to do anything that creates community or neighborhood angst. It's a great beach, and maybe it's part of maybe a Tunstall, and then talking about Sealy Park just down the way or something like that. But I think just there's so many beaches just to do Sealy where the access is so limited that it would encourage maybe some trespass there.
I see. Okay, thanks for that.
Would be my recommendation anyway.
Great.
So much good stuff.
Yeah. All right, wonderful, lots of ideas. So next meeting we'll firm up the plan for the coming few months. All right, now the next item on the agenda is the Shoreline Development Permit area. And when we met in December, I came forward with a very short recommendation, but it's expanded quite a bit. And this is just a suggestion for the committee's review. I'm happy, it's a little long. I'm happy to read it if everyone thinks that will be beneficial, unless everyone's had a chance to look it over. Has the committee had a chance to look it over?
Do you want me to put it on a share screen?
Oh yes, that would be great. Thanks, Steph.
Sorry, I'm just putting it into a Word doc. Do you guys want to discuss while I'm
Yeah, so I mean, essentially, if you haven't had a chance to review it, it's just pulling from, as the committee had advised at our last meeting, it's pulling from the official community plan, the parks plan, and the community brand wording. It's just taking that sort of word for word and putting in specifics to why we need a DPA for the shoreline. And the last paragraph is the recommendation itself, and that's really to direct staff to investigate the planning mechanisms available to develop this shoreline development area designation. So that's it. It just sums up sort of our discussions at the last meeting. So I'm happy to read it if everyone hasn't had a chance to read it. I can just go through it quickly right now. So
you see it?
No, it's just saying you started screen sharing, but nothing is coming up on my side. I don't know about everyone else.
No one's seeing it?
Same here.
No.
You guys are tiny and it's, oh, is that it?
There we go.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll just take a minute. I think it shouldn't take more than a minute just to read through. So whereas the official community plan stipulates the following objectives: to maintain Bowen Island's unique environmental heritage, community identity, and sense of place by ensuring that the island's natural landscapes and ecosystems are protected, to preserve and maintain biodiversity, which includes wildlife habitats and native vegetation in their natural state, giving special consideration to wildlife, plants, and ecosystems that are considered endangered, threatened, or of special concern, to ensure that new development incorporates a no net impact strategy with respect to significant plant, wildlife, and fish habitats, and to work with community groups such as Boyne Island Conservancy to identify and manage the island's biodiversity. And again, this comes from the official community plan. The next section comes from the Parks Plan, which states that Bowen Island is within the coastal western hemlock biogeoclimatic zone with coastal Douglas fir and associated ecosystems, subzones that have the highest number of species and ecosystem at risk in British Columbia. Threats to this area include land conversion, loss of natural process, species disturbance, invasive species, pollution, and climate change. The Parks Plan highlights that the protection of nature for Bowen Island residents is a high priority, and the expectation for Boyne Island Municipality to demonstrate high levels of environmental sensitivity in the planning for and operation of parks, trails, and beaches. And this final section is from the community brand. Research identifies Boyne as a special place where life is a little simpler and less stressful, and people feel connected to nature and a strong sense of community. In addition to island residents, many visitors enjoy the peace and quiet of Bowen's lands and parks and enjoy in the wildlife and beauty of Bowen. The Boyne Island brand guides the future direction of the island by uniting the community in common purpose, especially in ensuring an environmentally sustainable future by preserving and protecting its key attributes. Therefore, be it resolved that the Parks, Trails, and Greenways Advisory Committee recommend that Council direct staff to investigate planning mechanisms such as a shoreline development permit area designation that would enhance recreational opportunities, ensure viewscapes, protect the ecological integrity of the island, improve key beach and coastal access points, protect Boyne Island's shoreline, and enhance habitat for marine species, and preserve Boyne Island's unique environmental heritage. So this is just a draft recommendation, open for discussion. If the committee feels that it's too much, or we can pull from other sources that I may have missed, the floor is open for recommendations and for further discussion. And if we feel comfortable on sharing this with staff, with the council at the moment. Yes, Claudia?
Hi, Steph, would you mind pulling it back up onto the screen, please? There are just a few typos that I hopefully will remember when I see.
It's also in the agenda, Claudia, if you have the agenda open.
Right, I don't have it handy. Okay, so one is first paragraph, third line from the bottom, with respect to significant plant rather than plant, wildlife, and fish habitats. There was, there should be, last paragraph, that page, halfway through the paragraph, Bowen's lands and parks rather than park. A little lower down to.
Which line?
Yeah, this one, the line starts lands and park, should be parks.
Mm-hmm.
And last paragraph, do you mind moving the screen over there? Second last line, enhance habitat for marine species. It just has a plural there. And are you able to move the screen over, or just that page, show that page? Because it's getting blocked by the, here, maybe I can do it. Oh yeah, that's good, thank you. And the last page, please. And can you make it bigger? Yeah, thanks. Okay, just I thought there might have been something else. Nope, that's good. Thank you.
I would say that's very, very thorough, Lou.
Everything's there.
No, I'm not being facetious, sir. I mean, it gives the background argument and then succinctly condenses it into a resolution.
Great, thank you, Jeremy. DG?
Yeah, really good job here, Lou. Overall, I think it's really excellent. First, I thought, oh, it's too long, but I think it needs to be that length to demonstrate the connection. So I think that's good. I did wonder, because of its length, in the second to last paragraph, whether or not there needs to be a stronger linkage to the specifics about the shoreline. Like this is, you know, overall, I'd say that it's really good in terms of talking about why we need to have the protection, but I think we need to be a little bit stronger in the linkage between what we're talking about. And maybe it doesn't belong in that second to last paragraph, but maybe the last one, to speak to the rationale as to why shorelines are super important. And because I'm sort of harking back to some of the comments that council provided in response to our last recommendation, which was they didn't see the strong, a number of them didn't see the linkage between between I think these points and why shorelines were an important part of the Greenway. So I think somehow that needs to be like spelled out specifically. And so I was thinking somewhere we need to speak to that, especially shoreline viewscapes from Bowen Island beaches and parks, right? Because that's really, I think, where our strongest, there's a really strong link there, because if you're standing on Tunstall, as we all know, right? You're standing on Tunstall Bay Beach, which is completely within our purview as a committee. And then what do you see when you look out from that place or any other park, trail, or greenways? You know, what do we see when we look out from there? So we need to, I think we need to be explicit about that. So that was one comment I have, and maybe it belongs, or maybe its own, maybe it needs to be in that first sentence on that last paragraph. And then my other comment was, here we've given specifics about a planning mechanism such as a shoreline development permit area. But I just wonder, and I just sort of bringing it in terms of a discussion, is whether we want to, one, reference, there's some really good references in terms of BC-based development or descriptions of tools, and I've got some references like the Green Bylaws Toolkit. And there's also a Green Shores policy and regulatory tools for local government. So there's some really good references, so that we as a committee are not saying it has to be a development permit area. There may be some other mechanisms. So some references might also strengthen the case as well. So those would be my only 2 points.
All right, DG, where did you want to, was it this paragraph?
Well, I think I'm opening up for the discussion whether people also feel that that we need to be a little bit stronger in being just so explicit about the linkage between parks, trails, and greenways and shorelines, and why they're important. So I guess that's step one. And if people feel that's an important area to strengthen, then where to put that, so that it's really clear what we're talking about.
Okay, I have Bonny. Thank you so much, DG, and Nicola.
Just with respect to the different specific ways to protect shorelines that you mentioned, DG, I think staff is very aware. So we would look at the different mechanisms as is in the recommendation, development permit areas. So I don't know, I mean, if the committee feels that it needs to be there, like examples, but I think in the recommendation as it stands, staff is very aware. I know this is something that we've done a lot of research on. So I think we would come back with, options for council and definitely utilizing what you mentioned there. So I think it does say mechanisms. I don't have it in front of me either right now, but mechanisms, development permit area, or other mechanisms, or in conjunction with other mechanisms or tools to protect shorelines.
If I could just respond to that, I think I was thinking more from the perspective of I wasn't doubting that staff knows about it, but more from this perspective of council being aware and willing to move forward on that. So that was where I was coming from. Yeah, thanks.
Okay, so Nicola and then Phil.
Just quickly, I did notice when I was introducing myself and doing the readings that at some point I felt like I was reading about parks, trails, and beaches, and suddenly it changed to parks, trails, and greenways, and beaches seemed to get dropped somewhere along the way. And I did notice that, and I wondered why the focus left beaches and seemed to go to greenways at some point through what I was reading. So I appreciate what you're saying, TJ, about bringing the shoreline and beaches back into the picture, the overall picture.
I think someone before my time would be able to respond to the beaches part of PTGAC, but maybe Phil first and then someone else.
Yeah, that was similar, kind of piling on to DG and Nicola's comment that it needs focus on beaches and shorelines, and I think it's really well written, Lou, so don't get me wrong here. This is it's a good piece of writing. I just think the first paragraph needs to have something that gets the focus right away on the shoreline issue and the beach aspect of it. Why are we here? Why are we reading this? And that's I think that would help, because I think all the other content, about the specific environments that we're trying to protect in, Western Hemlock and Douglas Fir, those are all great. The aspects of the community brand, the OCP, but really right away, I think you got to get the attention up onto the issue associated with shoreline development and the fact that these shoreline ecosystems are critical parts of the island that need to be preserved and protected to a greater degree.
Thanks, Phil. Bonnie?
Yeah, I think that's it's a really good point, because right now there's really no tools. There's no tools to protect the species and the sensitive ecosystems that do exist on our shorelines, along our shorelines. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry. Thanks, Bonnie. Sue Ellen, Carla?
I welcome this. I think this is a wonderful start, and I like the idea of the focus and that kind of thing. It's very challenging to do with one motion to give it all that focus. So maybe you want to put a little bit at the top about another whereas, right at the very top, whereas Bowen shoreline something. And what I'll do is I'll send you this list that I had at the council meeting. For example, we've got some specific policies in the OCP. For example, the municipality will work with other governments to manage the 300-meter municipal boundary area so that it's, this is from the shoreline out to the 300 meters so that it's protected for wildlife and it's marine underwater ecosystems, etc. Anyway, I'll send you this list of specific things from the OCP. It sounds like you've been browsing around in there anyway. And I've also got down on my list the Coastal Douglas Fir Partnership Toolkit toolkit from Islands Trust, which has a great table with the different tools. I'll just include Bonnie and Carla in that, and unless anybody else would like that as well. And the regional conservation plan from the Islands Trust side, so that it lays out exactly what the ecosystems are. Like I think it's Coastal Western Hemlock, extra dry marine or something like that. But anyway, I'm encouraging you, and I'll send you some more things to work on. I like the idea of the focus.
Thank you. Carla?
Thanks. So I had two suggestions. One is I think it's really important that we maybe tie it into the climate action plan. Because I think it's important in that respect as well. And the other thing is that it seems like it's quite long. Not that I think it's all super important and should all be there. And I think that, you know, there's been other suggestions for things we could add, but I think maybe it could be a report. And then we could have a shorter resolution.
Okay, thanks, Carla. Did I see Jeremy's hand up? No. Okay.
That's a good question. Like Sue Ellen, as the councillor, how do you feel like the length would make it more appropriate to be a report with the referencing the different plans and then a shorter recommendation? Or what do you think? How do you think council would receive?
I think council would bounce off of this because they will have a 300-page agenda, and they look for short recommendations. And however, they have received these whereas kinds of things before. I like the idea of a report. If it was me as a council member, I can write reports and get them in, but I'm not sure that I've seen one from a committee. Usually committees don't.
There was one from the Advisory Planning Commission. They had been referred by council to generate a report on conservation development.
Oh, right. Yeah. Anyway, I think for big things, I think it makes sense to put it in a report format, because then you can lay out the purpose really clearly and, you know, separate out the background and that kind of thing. So perhaps Steph, could you send her a copy of the one from the Advisory Planning Commission that you're talking about, or some other report that you can see how another committee has done it? Okay. Is that a yes?
I will send it. I don't know if they what do you think about that?
I don't know what the standard procedure is for this. But I'm also, I think, taking Bonnie's advice in the sense that maybe this recommendation would be enough to get staff started, and then maybe a report would make sense for the planning mechanisms, or when we're further down the road. I'm not sure if it's what is needed now.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very aware too, like, you know, you community members, part of this committee, I mean, that's a lot of time for people to, you know, to go back and write a report. So my feeling is that the recommendation, it's long, but I've seen long recommendations before. I think if we could highlight somehow the why at the beginning, you know, that whereas, you know, Bowen shorelines are vulnerable to development and, you know, support ecologically significant vulnerable plant communities, plant and animal communities, provide, you know, aesthetics and mitigation for climate change, you know, sort of some sort of whys at the beginning. I think that would tighten it up, because then, you know, we need council to say, okay, staff, go bring back some tools for us to look at. And I think we want to do that as quick as possible. Get back to council with some mechanisms to protect our shorelines. And also with a recommendation, with a report, often it's buried in the council agenda. So whereas the recommendation is front and center, and it's very visible for the public in the agenda.
Thanks, Bonnie. Claudia?
Yeah, I was going to agree with what Bonnie just said there. I think worse than a long resolution is a report for not getting maybe the attention it needs. So, you know, I was thinking maybe Lou and I wasn't able to help Lou on this first draft, but maybe taking tonight's comments in, maybe her and I could have another crack at making it more concise, but still getting across, you know, the most important parts. If you're up to that, Lou, if you.
Yeah, that would be great.
Okay.
Ben?
I'd be also happy to review and add any bits if you guys want to send it around.
Yeah, I think that would be great. I think we can take a crack at adding these additional points, and then we'll send it around for everyone's feedback, and people can just, you know, put in with what's that with the commenting tool, and we can find comb and refine the language, and then send it around again, like we did for the last recommendation that we had sent around. I think Ben.
Yeah, I'm curious what happens with recommendations like this, Sue Ellen. It's up to the discretion of the council to decide whether or not to follow through on the recommendation or to follow up on it?
That's right. The elected this is an advisory committee to council. And so council sometimes refers things to the committee, but the committee has the terms of reference that lay out the kind of work council hopes that the committee will do. And well, let me show you. When there's a council meeting, the agenda comes out like this, and where there's a recommendation, it shows up right in the council agenda on the front page. So, for example, it might only be the part that says that it might not, therefore be it resolved, might be the part that shows up the most. But that way it's front and center in front of council on an agenda. And but then, you know, under the laws of British Columbia and the Community Charter and the Local Government Act, and then it's the municipal councillors, the elected municipal councillors, who decide to take the recommendation or amend the recommendation or refer it to staff or all those other things that they can do. That's the way it works. And then, yeah.
I just wonder, I guess I was thinking about how assertive to make the language in the recommendation, because right now it seems a little passive, but maybe the assertion will be made in the follow or the sort of background information that we'll provide, but I would like to see maybe a slightly stronger language in terms of, rather than recommending that the council invest or direct staff to investigate, maybe something a little stronger from the committee, because it's all something that we're obviously quite passionate about.
It's a challenge, Ben, the role of an advisory committee to council, and then the role of a community group which can have lots of advocacy. For example, we might hope that the Bowen Island Conservancy or the Nature Club or some of the other groups would notice it and come to council to support it. But usually, in my experience, recommendations from a committee like this get a better acceptance if they are dispassionate and just linked to show how they're helping council meet these goals.
Right, makes sense. Thank you.
Any more comments at this time?
It might
Claudia?
be- oh,
Sorry, and then Bonnie.
This partly speaks to what and just about being more assertive. And before we statement.
Claudia, you're breaking up.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, Claudia, we didn't catch any of that. Are you still there?
Shucks.
Oh, yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Maybe the
okay,
video.
so I can turn off the video if that might help, but let me know if you don't hear me. Okay, so what if we start more with a statement that Bowen's shorelines and beaches currently have no protection other than the 30-meter sea setback, and that this is not adequate to protect the values that they incorporate and contribute to the island. Sort of more of a statement of like right now they are under threat because there is no protection, and then follow with the arguments why they need protection, and then the recommendation.
I've got that noted in this
Yeah.
draft that I'll send you guys.
Okay, I've got Bonnie and then Phil.
I just wanted to clarify that the 30-meter setback is not a protection. So the 30-meter setback is only for dwelling, right? To not be sited within 30 meters, but there, as far as protections of protection of vegetation, plant and animal communities, there's minimal protections. I think that would be a good way to say it, because if there is a creek that's riparian area regulated, then there would be some protections. So I think there are some other things to do with staircases and heights of things. So I think to be accurate, it would be minimum protections.
Thanks, Bonnie. Phil?
Yeah, just one more comment to add to Claudia's comment, that I agree with that as an opener is really important, but I think also the specific needs are really important with respect to why is the shoreline and the interface between marine and terrestrial environment so important. And I think we could add just a few statements to make that really specific, because I think then your statement becomes a bit more general about the OCP and the parks plan and the priorities there. But I think it's getting across that importance of the interface between marine and terrestrial ecosystem, which is so important as an ecosystem component.
Thanks, Phil. DG, did I see your hand up? No? Okay. Any more feedback at this point? These are all really good points. Thank you so much. And again, this was just for to have the discussion started, so really useful. Claudia and I will go back and work on this, and then we'll send around another draft recommendation for further feedback. Okay?
I just wanted to thank you so much for spending the time working on the recommendation. It's a lot of work and it's appreciated.
Oh, no problem. Thank you so much, Bonnie. Okay, great. Final point on the agenda is the work plan. And thank you so much, Bonnie.
I can share
that around. Would you want to go through, Bonnie? Can I pass this on to you? Okay. Oh, you're on mute.
Jeff, do you mind sharing sharing the work plan? Just an overview is that we're under fairly tight budgetary constraints for 2021. Just in general, it's just a general statement. So, but I mean, our park plan doesn't have any budgetary implications. Yeah, so a lot of things are carried over. Well, not a lot of things. Some things were carried over from the 2020 work plan. And so the first section is just sort of some general items that we're working on in 2021. And that's highlighting specific parks, trails, beaches. And I should probably put in there, I will amend that and put greenways.
Do you want me to do it right now, Bonnie?
Sure, that'd be great. Thank you.
And then in the methods, do we have that writing campaign? Is that?
Mhm. Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah.
Do you want any other volunteers other than Bits for that program? If a member of the community wanted to participate, would anyone object to that?
It's yeah, I think, you know, as far as, I mean, we welcome people from other groups to submit things to the paper and such. We just have to make sure that, like from the Parks and Trails, as they say, I'd feel more comfortable from a staff perspective that we are keeping within the terms of reference, and we will have to vet it and make sure that it sort of fits with our communication strategies and such. So, I mean, I would love to invite the whole community, but I just think from a management standpoint, I think it might get a bit too complicated. And it sounds like the committee itself is going to generate. You know, if Bits is interested, I'd be open to, you know, receiving something from them, Phil, or by Hora. Same, Christine, if you talk to, you know, because I don't think you're on the board anymore, but if you're, you know, definitely talking to folks. So, yeah. And if others want to, I just don't want to make it too far reaching because we have 10 and we have to pick, you know, if we have too many. So I just don't want to complicate it. So it's just my feeling. So yeah, walkabouts. I think we're going to be doing those together when we can post-pandemic, but we, you know, hopefully some members of the committee will get out to Quarry Park and then assist with content related to a use of parks bylaw. I'm hoping to get to a use of parks bylaw this coming year. It's on my work plan, so I would bring that forward to the committee for some input. And then, of course, assisting with invasive species removal projects as needed. I know there is one person on the island that's going to be doing some broom removal. Yeah, there'll be some specific invasive plant removal projects, I'm sure, this coming year. Thanks, Steph, for filling in the blank spaces. Yeah, and then moving on to trails, we just have the one item this year for installing the boot brushes. I think we'd still like to carry that on. I know that Lou, you did some great work and we've had some discussion about that. So I'd still like to keep that on the work plan. And then as far as beaches, there's one item. The first item there was renaming Pebble Beach at Cape Roger Curtis. This has been on the work plan for a number of years, and it is related to a parks plan item. And we have tried to reach out to the Squamish Nation, and you know, we'll still continue to do that, whether or not it is renaming Cape Roger Curtis Beach or maybe one of our parks. It just would be nice to have a ceremony and a naming of one of our beaches or trails or parks. It just was Cape Roger Curtis Beach was named in the parks plan. And then under that, we have identification of undeveloped beaches where accesses can be improved. And I know there's been some great work done on that. This year, we haven't budgeted for any access improvement projects. I think with our staff capacity, we will be busy with the Quarry Park project and getting that completed. So, but we can still work on identifying areas. We do have some reserve funds in 2022 that we could possibly put towards improving an access if we decide to do that, if the committee is supportive. So yeah, it's just something to always keep in mind. I know the Hood Point area, there was a great walkabout. I didn't go on it, but Carla, you were there. I think, and Steph, you went, and some other members of the committee were there, and that was great. Some access improvements were identified there. And then as far as parks are concerned, that's the Quarry Park, Headwater Park. project. It was scheduled as a 2-year project, and we do want to get the kiosks up, and we've got some beautiful plaques from the Community Foundation that will go onto the kiosks, and the interpretive signage, and the new benches and picnic table, and yeah, just yeah. And then I've mentioned the help organize the community event, which DG, that sounds great, that quest for the families. And Greenways, that is ongoing. We will hopefully be referred some rezoning subdivision files from council throughout the year. And then infrastructure allocation. We're always looking for people to send us an email for the old brown signs. There still are old brown signs out there. So yeah, just if you see any, if you could take a photo or just tell us where they are, we're trying to replace them with our new signage. Yeah, every time I go out, I see another brown sign still, so you know, they're still out there. And then last item is determine suitability for wildlife habitat creation at Veterans Park. I mean, we could look at other areas too. This is just something carried over from 2020 work plan, looking at the feasibility of installing bat boxes or on poles and trees at Veterans Park. So that's the work plan, the draft work plan. So open to comments from the committee that I can incorporate and bring back maybe a final version next meeting, and then it would go on to a council agenda.
Thank you so much, Bonnie. I didn't see if any hands were up. My screen, okay. I have Sue Ellen and then DG.
Thank you. I'm delighted to see the work plan. My specific suggestion is just to add a little bit of words under Greenways, and specifically the idea of connectivity for nature and wildlife and biodiversity, because we have I mean, globally, there's a biodiversity crisis too, an ecological crisis, as well as a climate crisis. And but I think council doesn't always agree on what a greenway is. And I'm not saying we need to define it, but if we can use terms like connectivity for nature and wildlife, and
those words again, Sue Ellen.
Connectivity for nature and wildlife and biodiversity. And something simple like that, because and then if there's questions, I can refer to the biodiversity crisis and the need for an island to that. Anyway, that's my main one. And my other one was about Veterans Park. I'm wondering about bat boxes and tree swallow boxes or other things. Whether how was that? What, anyway, I'm just curious about bat boxes and how they fit with flying frisbees.
I think the poles, so the poles are kind of out of the way. They're sort of in that one sort of part of the field that there could be flying frisbees there, but it's not really in the line of fire, so to speak, the direct line of fire where those poles are. Yeah.
I just wanted to make sure they weren't attractive, because
right,
that would be an unhelpful target. But are there bats there? Is this? I just have never seen this one before.
Are there bats there?
I mean, I would think there are bats there. I mean, this is just something that was been on our work plan for a while, and I think it was generated from Mark Edmonds when he was the chair. And
okay.
yeah, back then, I mean, it would stand to reason because there's a wet areas there, and it's an open sort of field. I would think there are bats there. I just haven't been up there in the field. I bet going up there in the spring and summer, we should go look. And
yeah. I'm just curious.
But,
I'm curious. Yeah. Okay, thank you. That was just a question as to why, but that's fine. Fair enough. I would then suggest putting tree swallow boxes up there too for the daytime.
Okay, thank you. DG?
Yeah, great job. It's always nice to see the work plan. The only thing I'm wondering, and I know there's no budget, but whether under beaches we could put something about monitoring for erosion at beaches, because I was at Tunstall the other day and I noticed that, you know, there is a bit of erosion happening there. And so I know there's no budget to do anything about it, but maybe just add something along the lines of monitoring for erosion and, I don't know, habitat loss or something like that at beaches.
Okay, thanks, DG. Claudia?
Well, I was just to add to DG's, I mean, even if we put it on now and then it's noted and can get transferred to the next year's work plan and possibly budgeted in then, because it's on our radar. Oh yeah, my little thing was one of the dates said summer 2020. I think it was for Pebble Beach on the work plan. So I think it was supposed to say 2021 because it was. Anyway, I don't know if you
Got it. Okay, I'll change it to summer 2021.
Okay, thanks.
Claudia, have you been editing things a lot lately?
You mean like 3,500 phone numbers?
That could be.
In case you don't know what DG's referring to, I've just taken over the business of publishing the Bowen Island phone book.
Oh.
Just starting out for this year, so it's yeah, it's a long ways to go.
Congratulations.
Well, you have a good eye.
I'm glad to hear it's carrying on. That's great. I'm relieved to hear that. Yeah.
Good, thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for your comments on the work plan. It's almost 2 minutes to 9 o'clock, so I just want to make sure we get out of here soon. Are there any other points you had to add before we close the meeting? No? I think this is the last item. So for the next meeting, Steph and I were thinking we could make it a bi-monthly meeting rather than a monthly meeting, just to make sure we've got enough stuff to talk about. I mean, we always have a lot to talk about. It's been 2 hours now. But we have a lot of projects kind of ongoing, some walkabouts we want to get in. How does everybody feel about not having a meeting in February, but having our next meeting in March and doing it that way from now on? Are there any strong opinions for or against, or any thoughts on that, Sue Ellen?
Yeah, I find it's a monthly meeting helps the group stay coordinated and on task, and the feeling of volunteer motivation stays high. And if you reduce it, then people can't remember where something is, or what was I doing, or do I really need to go to that meeting? And this is part of the reason that council, that we've got most of these committees set up as monthly meetings, and was to keep the motivation and and everybody always has to remember what are these where. And I honestly, I think it would be helpful to have maps in the meetings too, brought up, not as well as text, just so people could orient themselves. But that's my 2 bits.
Maps are a great suggestion. I think I saw DG first and then Claudia.
Yeah, thanks. I guess if I agree with keeping the continuity going, I guess I would go for monthly meetings, and if we wanted to do anything, I would love to have shorter meetings, like if we don't have that much to go through, then, but we always seem to have an awful lot to talk about. So, if we could keep the meeting shorter, that would be great. But I would opt for carrying on with the monthly, just because you do start dropping the ball. I mean, I found it really difficult when we had that big break with COVID to even remember, like, what the heck are we supposed to, what are we doing? So yeah, I don't think every other month would be beneficial to us moving forward.
Okay, thank you for the feedback. Claudia?
Yeah, although it might, free up some of our time to meet every other month, but what if, council has a development permit variance that they're asking for feedback on, and we're not meeting for another, almost 2 months. It's not going to be looked at in a timely manner. So I think it might be wise to stick with every month, and maybe we aim to make them, till 8:30, an hour and a half, and just be really on point, and not get drawn away from what item we are on the agenda and so on. Maybe we can make them shorter.
Thank you, Claudia. Christine?
Yeah, I just wanted to reiterate, I agree. I think the motivation is important. In that break, I was thinking of not staying on the committee because I sort of thought, what's the point? We're obviously, not relevant, or so. I think it's important that we just have short, sharp meetings every month, and if something comes up, then it's all set and we're going to meet.
Wonderful. Any more feedback? Great. So I gotta do a better job as chair. Shorter agendas.
No, Lou, no, it's not
No.
you. It's just all of us sometimes, that talk too much.
There's always so much to talk about, and we could even keep going for another half hour, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna close the meeting. And Steph, when is the next?
The next meeting is then Tuesday, February 16th at 7 o'clock.
Okay.
I don't think I included it in the agenda, but the January meeting would be when we decide the annual schedule. So,
And does this Tuesday seem to work for most people at this time?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So I guess we can keep the same sort of general is this the third Tuesday already of January?
yeah.
My gosh, yeah, so the third
Oh.
Tuesday.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so the 16th of February,
Mhm.
and I think that's fine. If there's any changes, of course, we'll communicate by email.
And then that should be in your calendars. I'm just going to add Nicola to this, because even though you're on the list, when this was made. So Nicola should all be in the calendar now.
Okay, all right, great. So I think that's all right, Steph. Anything else on your side? No?
We're good, yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you, everyone. So we'll be in touch soon over email, and see you next month for our next meeting.
All right,
See
thank
you
you.
in,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
see you in
Thanks.
Quarry Park
So much.
when we have